She's not here.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, they are doing question 2, this is unit 6. You got it?
Yes, about citizenship. It says, what do you think are the greatest challenges of American citizenship today? Why and how does constitutional democracy in the United States depend on active participation of its citizens? What are advantages and disadvantages, if any, of being a citizen of both the United States and the state in which you reside? When you're ready, you may begin.
Ghanaian diplomat Kofi Annan stated in his 2001 Nobel Peace Prize speech, "No one is born a good citizen. No nation is born a democracy. Rather, both are processes that continue to evolve over a lifetime." In a constitutional democracy, the duties of a citizen exceed far beyond an I voted sticker. The obligations a citizen has to his or her nation change throughout a lifetime to ensure the prosperity of a nation. American democracy is continually evolving, and it is a simple fact that with citizenship comes obligations and liberties comes with duties. Democracy reflects the participation and will on behalf of the citizens, and as American citizens, it is up to us to better our democracy through civic participation so the processes can continue to evolve and allow for American democracy to flourish.
Sovereignty resides within the people. Thus, with this responsibility, citizens are prompted to vote intelligently on solutions, or to decide for themselves how to solve the problem at hand. Active participation within not only government, but local civic institutions allow for citizens to be exposed to the needs and political processes within their communities, creating for an informed citizen who is concerned for the common good. Though essential, voting alone is not enough. Involvement in local organizations fulfilling obligations such as jury duty and staying informed about the problems facing communities are all citizen habits essential to the survival of true democracy.
Lack of interest and participation by the majority of citizens results in only the citizens identifying with the extreme ends of politics being represented. In turn, this leads to hyperpartisan gridlock without any mediation, as seen in the current 113th Congress, which is being labeled as the second do-nothing Congress. No one is born a good citizen, but active participation on behalf of American citizens can ensure that the political system of the United States remains just as progressive. The promotion of a federal system within the United States reserves power to the individual states through the 10th Amendment. For example, Nevada is one of the only states to legalize prostitution, as well as one of the first 18 states to legalize commercial gambling, and though the morality of these activities is questionable, economically they are beneficial, bringing billions of dollars each year into the state economy.
The system of federalism benefits individual states by letting them decide what is best for the prosperity and well-being of their own state. On the other hand, gay marriage, being left up to the states to determine its legality, has had a domino effect throughout the United States. In October, the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals legalized gay marriage in Nevada, contributing to a total of 31 states that have legalized it so far. However, the remaining 19 states still failed to recognize it, which may pose issues for same-sex couples who travel to or choose to reside in any one of those states.
New challenges to citizenship threaten the quality of democracy, the greatest being individuals who process a general apathy towards participation. In the 2014 general election, only 45% of eligible voters made it out to the polls. Furthermore, those that do not turn out at elections don't necessarily want to vote for the available candidates. In the 2014 primary for governor, the Associated Press reported that despite having 9 candidates, the most popular ballot option was none of the above. The decline in participation is caused by apathy due to the perceived missing link between the policies that are voted upon and the impact that they will have upon the lives of the constituents that are voting.
Additionally, despite the flood of advertising that accosts citizens during campaign season, caused by the recent decision in Congress regarding Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, the disparity between campaign promises and career conduct further discouraged participation. Counterintuitive as it may seem, the solution to this problem lies in a resurgence of citizen activism. No nation is born a democracy. It is a development that requires constant effort and progress, and only through informed citizen participation can challenges such as hyperpartisanship and financially influenced politics be addressed. Thank you.
Time 4:16.
If I don't stumble over my words, that'll be better.
Same.
Okay, we have 10 minutes now, cross-ex, and one of the things, I'm gonna, if you don't mind, start with a question that you had in your testimony. When you talked about gaming and prostitution, I'm a little perplexed in how that was answering the questions that were put forth here. Can you share with me that? Well, how does that affect active participation as a citizen, the advantages and disadvantages of being a citizen of both the U.S. and your state? Clarify that for me. Tell me why, you know, what is that answers anything here?
Well, it addresses how being a citizen of Nevada, like how states can decide something that isn't a law nationally. So Nevada is one of the few states who has commercial gambling, and not every state has it, and it's not like a national thing that every state can have it. Like a lot of states have it outlawed. So this shows how the states can have their own say in things.
Just to push you, but the question is about the advantages of being a citizen. So just one more, you need to connect that from the state to the citizen.
Well, this is an advantage of being a citizen of Nevada. And so with each state being able to kind of digress off of like common laws or common abilities, it gives us almost, not a leg up, but it gives us something to bring in like money and benefit us economically.
The citizens did choose to enforce these laws within our state, so it did require citizen participation for these acts to be imposed within our own state, which shows how participation at a state level can affect us through laws that we choose to be made.
Do you guys agree it also introduces a liberty to people in Nevada that people in California don't have? Liberty to patronize prostitutes, a liberty to gamble, seriously, in their own state, right? They have a right to do that, and the state right next door, they don't, right?
Well, in one of them. How many states can have gambling legally now?
Isn't it 19 for commercial gambling?
Well, commercial gambling, Indian gaming, you know, the general public doesn't understand the difference.
Right.
It's gambling, it's gaming. I think you would find just about every state can have it now.
Indian
Yeah,
gaming can be
it's true.
everybody,
Yeah.
any state that has.
So you have to be careful when you put that one in, that it's, yeah, we were kind of, you know, we started it, but about every state now has it through the form of Indian gaming,
Right.
okay? And the general public doesn't know the difference. So I think you'd be a tough argument.
Well, yeah.
Okay, next
So-
question.
I have one. How do you measure active citizenship? How do each one of you measure active citizenship?
An active citizen should they should participate with their local government, such as things like jury duty, attending an open public meeting to find out what's happening within their community, even holding a local office, to be a better active citizen, to be active in their citizenship.
Active participation transcends not only government duties, but duties as a citizen, being involved in local civic institutions such as a church, or locally, like Keep Truckee Meadows Beautiful. Those are all ways that a citizen can be active in their community, not only with the government. By not being directly involved with the government, they can see what need to be addressed directly by being so close to these organizations.
Additionally, campaigning, not necessarily voting, but by campaigning you get a better perspective on it, because if you're campaigning for a person, you get a better insight about what they stand for instead of watching the biased campaign commercials and everything. Like you can meet the person you're campaigning for, and they can inform you on what they want to do based on like hearing their opposers ad.
In your testimony, you stated that every person should be kept informed, up to date on current news events in our country. but how do you see that happening with polarized media like CNN or Fox News? You may just get what the left says or what the right says. How do you get a modern interpretation or the view of both sides? Because I'm not going to watch TV all day. It's not going to happen. But how do you how do you find that? How do you find that happy medium?
Trying to find sources that aren't influenced, as you said, by either left or right. For example, NPR would be a great thing that people can listen to in their car while they're driving and stay informed about current events that is happening within our country and the world as a whole.
Some would argue that NPR is
Wow.
biased. As he asked.
Pertaining to a political campaign, it'd be beneficial for a citizen to find out information, say like going online and finding out what the person stands for before they go out and vote for the person.
But how do we do that?
What if I don't have the internet? I'm 80 years old. I don't know how to use a computer.
And how many people, just, adding on, how many people really understand one TV station is one party, and another TV station is another party? How many people actually know that?
Right.
And understand that? Okay, because, I just had this right here with my dad. I said, if you're gonna listen to one, you better go listen to another one if you want the whole story. And he just looked at me like, what? And he's 82. Okay? So with today's world of social media, as we're talking about, how does it work? How do we influence people the right way? How do we get them to get going?
There's no right answer.
Well, you can't necessarily force people to become passionate about a government if they don't have the passion within themselves to project their wants in the government. It's not going to happen. If the passion isn't there to begin with, there shouldn't be a mandatory way to enforce this, because then it would not truly be active participation.
So you're just directly contradicting your testimony then? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'm saying that though apathy is part of this, that
Just
Anyway,
say yes.
just,
Yeah.
just and then move on with the next thing. I know
Yes.
I'm an asshole.
Any other questions? How much time do we have?
Do we have any time?
About 2 minutes left.
2 minutes, oh, good.
So, at the end of your testimony, you made a statement about how you can address the, apathy of the citizens and the money in politics that kind of contributes to the alienation. I'd like you to kind of expand on what you said in your testimony. It was like the last 1 or 2 sentences. How do you do that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes. In the last part of your testimony, you talked about how to address the apathy and the increasing amount of money that influences, that is in politics, so it's very hard. It's kind of building on the same question we were talking about, which is how do you get people to get informed? And there's a sentence toward the end of your testimony that says something about addressing the money in the excessive money in politics and the apathy of the people. How would you say that should be? What were you referring to in that? Can you build on that statement? Can you give me an example of how that you would do that?
Well, for example, if we have voting polls, no campaigning, but like where you can go vote at a college and make more accessible to a younger generation of people, and that age group is known for not voting a lot.
Right.
They have the lowest voter turnout. So we could do things like that to improve voter turnout. And also, if we make the candidates more accessible, so besides having the biased political campaigns of the other person saying what the other person's doing wrong, we could have we could have the information more accessible to the people, say people who don't have internet, and don't wanna say pamphlet, but something that could be easily read that are just the true facts of what the person stands for and believes in. Also, oh, no, that's it.
Anything else? Anybody else?
Got another question?
Oh, I always have questions.
No, 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 it's
No more, no more,
Put
no
up the
more.
stop sign. That's too bad.
Okay, can I start off?
Yes,
I know it was uber mean.
Uber me.
Uber mean, yes.
man.
But like what we told the last group, like stick, like even though, like make a point, or
Right, make an argument.
yeah, make an argument and stick with it the whole time. Even if it's not your own personal view on it, just take that position and say you can play devil's advocate with it. Because yes, I did catch you on that. I know, it was really mean.
No, but that's what
Yeah.
the judges will do.
Why we're here.
Judges will do that in
You're gonna be a lawyer.
competition, and they
Judges
will
aren't
just
nice.
destroy you
You don't
just
know
that
that.
fast.
So responding to, I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Sam.
Sam, to Sam's question, he asked you what is your opinion. You kept saying between should or is, like be careful in your tense, like should a citizen do this, or a responsible citizen is, and then list points A, B, and C.
Okay.
And then to answer your question with more solid facts about active participation, go back to 2008. MTV did a whole entire thing about Rock the Vote, and that's when social media was just getting up on board. But like a lot of my friends and I, we watched MTV, and like that was being pushed out a lot, especially for our age demographic. So that's something you might want to look into.
Okay.
I would say, you know, you made this comment for the last group. I really like when your testimony starts with what you think. And you know, that's just my opinion, and you may want to consider doing that because it really comes out with what position you're taking first, and then kind of buttress that with the quotations. If you're going to use that quotation, Kofi Annan is Ghanaian. It should be a long A, not, I think you pronounced. Yeah, you said something that didn't pronounce, and
Mr.
that's
Bush
just,
used to
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
So difficult.
It's just one of those things that, you know, they could be a jerk and catch you on. And you know, he was the former Secretary General of the United Nations. Yeah, I would say that, because that's pretty, I mean, he's not just a diplomat, like, he was for quite some time, he was the Secretary General, previous one to this one, I think.
Before Ban Ki-moon.
Yeah.
2 terms, starting in 94.
Very good.
I got grilled on that question during With the People, that's why I can go.
Oh, really?
Kofi Annan, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I featured Neil on that one.
You know, you still need to work a little bit on the, you know, not reading, being
Yeah.
loosen,
Well, they're missing one, so
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they had to read
Yeah,
their
read her
part
part,
too,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
know,
but-
that doesn't help sometimes.
And just trust yourselves. You're smart, you know what you're thinking. I think when the question gets asked and you're like, oh my God, I know it's a trick question, I don't know the answer, you know, just take a deep breath and think about what we're asking, because it's really, a lot of times it's really just what you already said, but you're not making the connection, and part of it is how you present yourself and how you make your arguments, you know, so, try not to panic too much. I mean, I know it's very hard.
I'm gonna add on to that. When I asked that question about how do you measure active citizenship? That's one of those opinion questions. And basically that's what we want. We want what you think about that particular thing. What do you think an active citizen should be, or what active citizenship means to you? And I mean, there's not going to be, you won't be, well, I agree with my colleague kind of thing, because these are your own individual comments, and sometimes that's what judges will ask. They'll specifically ask a question to see what you think it should be, and it's not just necessarily a canned answer out of what you just finished writing, but what you really feel and what you really think about that particular question. So just be ready when you're asked those kind of things, because this is the kind of question that leads it to that. Okay, you talk about citizenship and all this other stuff, but what does that mean to you? And that's what they'll ask.
And the thing that you guys kind of talked around, and it seems so obvious, and I think you just sort of missed it because you were trying to answer this question, was a good citizen informs themselves. right? Like you started getting at it when you got to when you started talking about making the politician available so you can, ask them questions about their position, but it seems like it doesn't matter if you vote, if you don't even know what's going on.
Being a good, following the speed limit is being a good citizen.
Right?
Like
Like
following the
whole
rules.
social contract, yeah.
Not recycling. There's all kinds of things. It doesn't have to be, you guys are looking at, oh geez, I know we need to do something about government. There's all kinds of other
Yeah.
things. It's what do you think an active citizen is? An active citizenship, what does that mean to you? So, I put all my stuff in the recycle bin. I put the what goes in the glass and then what goes in the aluminum. I put them in those two bins. That's my part. I follow the speed limit. I stop and let the little ducks cross the street and I don't run over
There's
them.
a lot of that in
That's
here.
stuff like that, just something as silly as that. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is we want to know what you think. Okay? I'm done.
Okay, I'm gonna challenge you, okay, because I'm gonna give you my honest opinion. I don't think you answered this question.
Yeah, there's parts of this.
I don't think you answered substantially any part of the question.
Well,
And I think you can be stronger in, because it
Well-
starts off right off the bat, what do you think
Mhm.
are the greatest challenges of American citizenship today? Okay? It's your obligation, that's the most bold statement to start with in this whole question. For you should stand right up and say, okay, here it is. And then you can start working the other way. I would be very, very, very careful, in honesty, to throw out there gaming and prostitution as your example of the advantages of being a citizen of Nevada.
here's one that we will talk about Friday. The fact that the federal government owns 86% of our state, which leads to 86% of our highway funds. Because without that, we'd be riding on dirt roads.
The thing that came to mind for me when I just heard the question before I heard your testimony was, and I don't know whether you've studied this yet, but there's this whole idea that states can't discriminate against one another, right? So that's sort of one of the benefits of your citizenship in a state is whatever your state has to offer, whether it be Washington Apple or whatever, that's a benefit that you as someone in the state can be protected from, discrimination.
It's too bad you weren't a rural county, because if we were a rural county, one huge advantage is the fact that mining in the rural county, because mining gives those rural counties millions of dollars towards education. And you don't see a lot of that in Washoe and Clark County.
Well, that's how those communities stay alive.
Yeah, if you were in Humboldt,
The
or
last
Lander, or
election, there was,
Eureka, or Elko.
there was something on the ballot in the last election, which people don't realize, if it would've passed, you'd have seen ghost towns.
So this is state taxes on the miners?
The mining tax, yeah.
Uh-huh.
The mining tax, remember on this last election, they talked about taking the cap off of mining tax?
Yes.
People would've gone after them like there was no tomorrow, and the miners, the companies that
Would've
mine
left.
would've said, this isn't the only place we could be. It's just a good place for us right now because it's economically conducive to be here. But you start taxing us like that, we're pulling. Ely become a ghost town, Elko will become a ghost town, Battle Mountain, Carlin, anything you see up in I-80 except for here in Clark County would become a ghost town, literally. Because that's how those communities are
We have
supported.
Freeport tax,
Yeah.
that, an advantage is that no Freeport tax, that warehousing can come in here and, they don't have to pay the exorbitant, that's why you see a lot of distribution centers in Nevada. So,
Yep,
those are
another
some
thing
other things, so
too.
yeah, let's take out gambling and prostitution.
Yeah, and I think,
Let's get rid of that.
there's another argument too about being, as far as the states are concerned, what are the things that happen in your state that don't happen in another state? Let's say, for example, what happens if you live in Colorado and marijuana is legal, but you come here? What happens to the laws? Do you now abide by Colorado law even though you're in Nevada? Or, what happens to those laws? Okay, so there could be some disadvantaged, advantaged kinds of stuff. I really think, I would look at some of those things and really put some teeth into it and see where your answers are to these. And like we said, be bold up front. State your opinion. And say, this is what we believe. You ask what we believe, this is what we believe, and this is why we believe it, and this is why it's legal for us to believe it. The law says we can do this. There's some people in this community, I can tell you right now, who won their elections strictly on social media. Strictly on social media. Jessica Sferrazza is a master at social media election. That's how she got elected. Well, behind the coattails of her dad, but social media is what she did. That's how she did it.
I think Hillary Sheevey did too.
And she did it because Jessica, they used Jessica's contacts. And that's how she did it, okay? You look at Ray Pezzanella, Ray did it so-called the good old boy way, and they did it through social media.
Same thing with.
So, there's a whole variety of different ways, but I think we get locked up in this citizenship thing as voting. I think there's a lot more to it than voting. Just as Sam said, just doing the right thing. What gives somebody the right to just go and shoot somebody because...
Link Piazza had a good quote, and you might want to include this, just one of our benefactor goes, well, he said sportsman, but you can use it for anything. Being a good citizen is doing the right thing when no one is looking.
There you go, exactly. And I think you can easily relate that to how, the theory of how a democracy functions. If you don't have people, the majority of people being good citizens, then the society's not going to function very well because we kind of count on one another to stop the red lights and, do the right thing.
We gotta slip that, we'll slip that in there somehow.
Or one of your opinions could be like, if you don't vote, you can't bitch and moan about stuff. When
Well,
stuff happens.
you shouldn't, but mostly
They do.
Yeah, I know, but that's your opinion.
There is that old statement that if you didn't do it, you shouldn't, but welcome to the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
So we gotta get this
Yeah,
next group
okay.
here, 'cause-
Any questions you guys have?
All right, get out.
Thank
Understand what we're talking about?
Yep.
Good job.
Which one would you like to do?
We would like to do question number 2.
Question two. How come everybody doesn't like to do one or one? They all like to do two. Maybe it's
Change
because
that.
that's all right. Yeah, they want to do question two. That's okay. We'll do question.
Unit 1.
Question two.
Since some other country.
What's this one on?
Last
This on colonial experiences for constitutional government.
Oh wait, where's the,
You guys have your,
Chelsea, where's your subscribe?
You should have gotten one. Mr. Clark gave him out. Oh no, Mr. Clark gave me yours, but I gave it back to him.
So, do you want to get ours, please?
No.
Do you guys
I got you.
Wait, is this recording? I can't
Yes,
tell.
it's recording now.
So it's
All
been
right.
recording through the whole thing? Oh,
Oh.
all right.
all right.
Question
introduce yourself.
two.
Hold on, introduce yourself.
Okay.
My name is Julie Guy. I'm Chelsea Ham.
I'm Brandon Russ.
Okay, and it's question two. It says, what are the fundamental characteristics of a constitutional government? In what ways does constitutional government mean limited government? Describe at least 3 provisions of the Constitution that provide a means of preventing the abuse or misuse of governmental power. Explain how these provisions work in our system of government today. And whenever you're ready, you may begin.
Thomas Jefferson once asked James Madison whether one generation of men has a right to bind another, and concluded that the answer to this question was among the fundamental principles of every government. While Jefferson and Madison corresponded overseas, the two often disagreed upon the ideals of the foundation of government, but their letters serve to remind us of how a constitutional government came to be defined. While Jefferson believed that no society can make a perpetual law because if it be enforced, it is an act of force and not of right, Madison argued that antiquity makes constitutions cogent and withstanding. The foundations of a constitutional government lie in between the two founders' ideals, and a constitution that is broad enough to adapt to the change that comes with every new generation, yet specific enough that it can be applied to each generation's society in order to limit government